Right, so Dave Meltzer, that is a name that a lot of you would probably recognize, and he is probably the most controversial and prominent wrestling reporter that is out there. Meltzer has ran the Wrestling Observer since 1984 and is a pioneer in what wrestling industry people call the dirt sheets. And Dave Meltzer, like I said at the start, is actually a very controversial figure in the wrestling community for a variety of reasons, and that's both amongst wrestling fans and wrestling industry people like wrestlers and other podcasters and journalists and personalities. Dave Meltzer is a very divisive figure, and today I'm going to explain why as we go over some of the main Dave Meltzer controversies and incidents and dramas that Dave Meltzer has found himself in throughout his time in the wrestling space running the Wrestling Observer. So like the video and let's get into it. So one of the main things you probably know Dave Meltzer from is his wrestling star rating system and the way that he rates wrestling matches, because it's kind of hard to explain. It isn't the traditional 1 to 5 star system because it also goes beyond that. But yeah, Dave Meltzer's wrestling rating system is actually quite a prominent system for rating wrestling, to the point that it has its own Wikipedia page for matches rated 5 stars and above. And there was definitely a time where when a 5-star match from Dave Meltzer was a lot rarer, it definitely was a credible stamp of approval from Meltzer towards this match. However, as the years have gone on, obviously, there are a lot more 5-star plus matches. There's been controversy with how the scale works and how it goes beyond 5 stars. There's been controversy with people accusing him of being biased towards certain companies and certain wrestlers. And there's always the talks of the wrestlers who have never received a 5-star match. For example, Jake Hager, Jack Swagger, he has a 5-star match from Dave Meltzer. He was in the Blood and Guts that one time. Kurt Angle, though, he does not have a 5-star match from Dave Meltzer. And Kurt Angle is definitely one of the main names. I always see that as brought up as to how on earth has Dave not given him a 5-star match, amongst many others like Chris Van Vliet debates here in this interview with Dave Meltzer.
I was blown away to learn Kurt Angle's never had a 5-star match.
Yeah,
like,
but he's had tons of 4 3/4, which is basically the same thing. It's just like the little.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah, it is. I think anything over, to me mentally, anything over 4 is great. And so if you say I never given Kurt Angle a 4-star match, you know, whatever.
No, you've given him plenty of 4-star matches,
but I mean 5. It's like yeah. Could you say that the Chris Benoit match at Royal Rumble was a 5-star match? I was pretty damn close, but I said
Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe in TNA. Hell yeah.
You think so? I will say I thought there were great Kurt Angle Samoa Joe matches in TNA. I never saw one as a 5-star match. And I mean, it's like, whatever. I mean, 5 stars to me is like, that's like freaking, elite level, like, it's, and, I don't know that, again, you're arguing 1/4 of a star or whatever, but it's like, I never thought about it.
I will say, whether you call it a 4
probably
3/4 or 4.5, that 5-star is a benchmark. That's a big benchmark for people.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't be, because if you're at 4 3/4, that means I'm thinking that you should be considered for match of the year.
Now that clip is part of a wider video I did talking about some of the most heated Chris Van Vliet interviews, which you can check out on this channel. And I'd also recommend hitting that subscribe button with the bell notifications on so you never miss any new content on the channel just like that one. As the talk around Meltzer's ratings is probably on the lower end of Meltzer's controversies, is just quite a divisive thing. That's more of an issue that wrestling fans have with Meltzer, but there have been many a time where wrestlers in the industry have had issues with Meltzer and reports and comments that he has made on other wrestlers or themselves. Some that spring to mind are Charlotte Flair, who called him out on Twitter after comments he made about her came out. I thought Dave Meltzer would have learned his lesson last time commenting about women's bodies, we'll get to that one, but apparently I'm fair game, so I get to respond again to a rumor about my body again. You know what? This is when I stop. Dave, go to hell. And another wrestler who doesn't like Dave Meltzer that obviously springs to mind is none other than Seth Rollins. I think it was 2019 where these two were just constantly at each other's throats. And Dave Meltzer and Seth Rollins, I believe their beef actually originated from when Dave Meltzer actually made comments about another WWE wrestler, that being Peyton Royce, who was signed to the WWE at the time as part of the Iconics. And there was a big social media storm on X that took place one night when Dave Meltzer and his quotes about Peyton Royce were posted and shared on the timeline.
The Iconics got boringed out. They're another one. I thought like that they had like a cool act in NXT, and on the main roster, I don't get a thing out of them. I mean, I don't think their promos are particularly good. Their wrestling isn't good. I think Peyton Royce's transformation to look more attractive. I don't know. I don't want to say, but I don't think that.
She was more attractive in NXT?
I thought so, yes. To me, yes. I would say so. But, that's neither here nor there, but...
No one's saying she's unattractive, by the way, everybody.
I know, no shit. Yeah, I didn't say it at all. But I don't think, she doesn't stand out to me. When she was in NXT, she did.
Well, one thing I've noticed about NXT in the main roster is...
She was a lot lighter.
The NXT character...
These comments, of course, got the attention of Peyton Royce, who said, "So what would you have me do, Dave? Starve myself? This is how nightmares for young women start. The females in your life must be proud." Other industry people chimed in, like Renee Paquette, MVP, and of course, Seth Rollins with the infamous -6 stars Dave tweet. A tweet that was then replicated by Dave later on against Seth Rollins and their little beef they've always had. And Dave Meltzer would, of course, apologize to Peyton Royce in the end in a very puzzling apology where he said, "I'd like to apologize to you. You are an exceedingly attractive woman. I do realize the lengths and pressures on women in the entertainment world to maintain unnatural looks at times, and I'm glad you pointed this out." So that's probably one of the bigger blow-up moments that Dave Meltzer had amongst other wrestlers in the industry, but Dave Meltzer has also had his fair share of problems with other wrestling journalists, podcasters, and wrestling media people. His beef with Jim Cornette is one story in itself. However, the story I want to talk about here is maybe a little lesser known one, as this pertains to Dave Meltzer and the Japanese wrestling promotion Dragon Gate. As in January of 2023, Dave Meltzer was accused of knowingly publishing false stories about Dragon Gate, as Mike Spears, the host of Open Voice Gate, would release an expose thread where it discusses how Dave Meltzer seemed to be victim to a hoax but still chose to publish these stories anyway despite advice not to. I will read the full thread for you now, but I do warn you this is a few minutes, so maybe 1.5x speed is advisable, but let's get into this thread. Read any good fake emails lately? Let's talk about how the sausage is made. The last 7 months, actual breaches of journalistic ethics versus tribalism, and our old friends Dave and Nasawa. So first off, I acknowledge we aren't working with perfect information here. I'm going to refer to dates, but all of this is my own personal experience with this overall story. I'm doing this to separate from Case's stellar article because I don't want to detract from his work. So this weekend of May 20th was in Fort Worth for the first time in 15 years, so this is kind of etched in my brain in the way those events tend to be with people. I had someone reach out to me to vet a Dragon Gate related story. This isn't uncommon and rather routine with OTVG, etc. Over the years, I wouldn't say that Case and I developed a network of sourcing and folks, but you do get talking with people and over years relationships form. Again, not uncommon. So this person out of the blue got an email claiming to be a Dragon Gate wrestler. They didn't provide me with the email at the time, but it was the email Case had in his DG piece. Without seeing it, things really did not add up enough to pass my personal smell test. I told them I'd ask around, but I told them given what we knew, I doubted its veracity. I wouldn't run with the story without verifying that was the wrestler. Send a photo with a paper with the email address written on it, identification, knowing the identity. English. Although taught at schools, I knew that wasn't common in Dragon Gate. Later talking with sources in and around the company, May 21st, revealed that the wrestler in question was in no way fluent in English and probably never heard of the outlets they were alleged to have contacted. So the person who contacted me, I'll say it now, was Joe Lanza because he publicly has talked about using us for vetting, passed on it. A few days passed. Enter Wrestling Observer Live. Now, I both respect Sem for doing the Japan coverage before I started, and I think the wrestling news is a cool concept, but it was very clear when Alvarez and him went on air that week, I don't have the date here right now, that they didn't do any legwork before going on air. Others got involved afterwards, and it comes out that folks did ask this emailer for identification. According to what I've been told, they were provided an obviously faked company ID, 1 second on this, and later backed away from talking about the email when corrected. So this company ID, Funny thing, no company IDs. It's a wrestling travel troupe that has worked together for upwards of 25 years. Why do you need them? Now day of media types? Sure, make sure they're ID'd, but not a wrestler who everyone knows. Several sources within Dragon Gate corroborated that they do not have company IDs, so no matter how you feel about the email, at this point, we know that the identification provided does not exist in reality. So if you get an email claiming to be someone and ask for identification, and you get something that, if you ask people within the company, they could have said, no, that's fake, we don't have them, do you run with that story still without any more vetting? Everyone who has taken a single reporting or media writing course in their lives know I would vet more or spike it. Dave Meltzer, lol, I don't care if people who have worked for me or given me information for decades say no, I'm publishing the contents of the email and the sour. And when you think that I'm insinuating that people with long established relationships with Dave try to go, Dave, I wouldn't run this, it's not true, and Dave ignore them to publish, that is exactly what I'm saying. And if you followed me since May, you've probably been tired of me pointing this out, but at no point has Dave offered any explanation, retractions, or addendums about this story, his journalistic process, or why he was so set on printing when no one else would. So a too long didn't read for anyone who might have just skipped that entire section. Meltzer received emails from whom he believed to be Dragon Gate wrestler Kaito Ishida and didn't do any vetting and ran with the story anyway, despite other industry folk advising him not to run the story and telling him that it was a hoax. And Meltzer, as a response, would have to put out a correction as this was posted onto social media shortly after.
All right, we got to do a quick correction here regarding some Dragon Gate news.
Oh, more than a correction. My
Yes.
God. Yeah, so I mean, we've never talked about it on this show, but in the Observer, I have written about stuff, and oh my God, what a, I mean, it's just, what can I say? I mean, I did not know that I was being hoaxed, and I'm so, I feel horrible about it, obviously. I mean, it's not a minor thing to me, obviously. It's a big thing to me, and I better never let this happen again. So I'll just say that.
Perhaps one of the biggest and most downright insane Dave Meltzer controversies, though, that I can recall, was the quotes Dave Meltzer made regarding Roman Reigns and his leukemia treatment in March of 2019 that got a response out of Nia Jax. She is of course the cousin of Roman Reigns, and if you weren't aware, Roman Reigns had to step away from WWE in around the summertime of 2018 as his leukemia had unfortunately returned. However, Roman Reigns would make a recovery and would be in remission in March of 2019 around the time of this controversy, and that is when he would come back to WWE. And yeah, Dave Meltzer would find himself in controversy when he made some questionable remarks regarding Roman Reigns' leukemia and the treatment he was receiving.
I mean, when those pictures came out on the movie set, there were definitely people that thought it was fake, even though it was not.
It's not fake, and the disease that he had, CML. I mean, and it is serious, I mean, but it's not like, like I mentioned, there was a NHL player who had the same thing he had in the 2007 season who did not miss one game. He played every game while on this. And hockey is a pretty damn demanding sport. So everyone's different, and he actually said the pill was oral chemotherapy, but I don't think it was, because the pill that I was talking about, which is a new pill, and that's what he said, he didn't give the name of it, like I said, but, like this is they usually don't use, the treatment of this is usually not chemotherapy or radiation. So it's not that harsh. It's the pill that he took that, you're going to have you're going to have some side effects and it's no fun, but, muscle memory and stuff, once you get your strength back and go back to the gym, which, he had a personal trainer the whole time he was in Hawaii doing the movie. He had a personal trainer with him. So he's going to get his body back. That's I mean, you can get, I mean, I would say, everything's everyone and everything's different. Every injury's different and every illness is different. But what he had, put it this way, his situation is not the slightest bit inconceivable with what he had. Not even the slightest. It was when I was talking to doctors about this and they presumed it was CML that he has because of his past history, and I presumed it. I was told, the basic situation and that he's going to wrestle again, and probably in a couple of months, and he's not going to be losing his hair, and he's not going to be losing that much weight, and he's going to be probably going to be fine.
So in that clip, you can kind of hear Dave Meltzer speculating on what treatment Roman Reigns is receiving and what pills he is taking. This would get the attention of Roman Reigns' cousin and WWE wrestler Nia Jax, like I said, who tweeted, "Dave Meltzer is a piece of shit. The fact that you make statements about people's health when you have zero knowledge about it is ridiculous. If you do have access to superstars' personal medical info, that is a huge violation of HIPAA, so shut your mouth." Meltzer on Twitter would respond saying, "On the Reigns treatment, there are different options that include a pill that is oral chemo, and that is what he said he was taking, and there's no reason to not believe that. So I stand corrected on that." And that is all that was really said there. There were also some Wrestling Observer forum posts where he clarified that he never said Roman Reigns was lying about anything and tried to clarify things further, but I don't think it really helped anything at all. He just needs to stop talking about Roman Reigns and his leukemia at this point. But yeah, I think that's all I can think of at the top of my head for Dave Meltzer controversies and incidents and dramas. If you can think of any more, then leave them down below in the comments and let me know if I missed any. Like the video if you did enjoy this, and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss a video on this channel. Dave Meltzer obviously continues on in the world of wrestling journalism and wrestling media. He'll remain controversial, and I'm sure by 2030 we'll be having 9-star matches. We'll see. But yeah guys, that's it from me. Like I said, goodbye and keep on rolling.